Just a little quick video on installing the timing chain into the 2.8 liter V6. It's really a very simple procedure. After installing the sprocket on the crankshaft, you're then going to want to install the sprocket on the camshaft. Now it's mounted using these 3 bolts, and there is a specific mounting position. This peg is part of the crank of the camshaft, and it has to pass through the opening in the camshaft sprocket, and this puts the camshaft in the proper position in the sprocket so that the timing marks line up where they're supposed to, and the camshaft will be in the right spot once the timing is set. So it's very important that this pin, well, there's really only one way to mount it, which is with the pin going through the sprocket, but make sure the sprocket is facing in the right direction, which is where these timing marks are located. Very difficult to get this wrong. It's a very, very simple procedure. You just have to look for the side of the sprockets that have the timing marks on them. Here I've painted them red, just so that you could probably see them a little easier, hopefully. But at least to highlight the teeth where the timing marks are located. Then you can install the chain tensioner, which is this piece here that sits between the sprockets and between the chains. It's mounted with these 2 bolts. Simple. Remove the 2 bolts and remove this entire part here, this entire block. Just comes right out as soon as you remove those 2 bolts. To install them, just mount the block, put in the 2 bolts, torque them to the factory specification. Very important. The same with the bolts on the crank and the camshaft sprocket. Make sure you torque everything to the proper factory specs. Now, once you have both sprockets installed, the timing marks lined up, and there is a tab on the belt tensioner here, which is where this timing mark lines up, and then there's another tab here for this timing mark. Now, when you have those 2 tabs and both marks lined up on the teeth for the camshaft sprocket and crankshaft sprocket, you should have both cylinder number 1 and cylinder number 4 at top dead center, which, as you can see here, cylinder number 1 is at TDC. For those who are not familiar with the term, top dead center stands for TDC stands for top dead center, which is the uppermost position the piston can be in within the cylinder. And here we have cylinder number 4 at TDC. As long as you have both those cylinders at TDC, your timing marks should line up perfectly. I put a mark in the chain here. This tooth would be cylinder number 4 at TDC, which should be straight above cylinder number 1 at TDC, which should line up with the position of the crankshaft timing mark. So you have all of these marks together. You have cylinder number 1 at TDC, number 4 at TDC, and you're done. As I said, it's extremely simple. Overhead cam engines are where this starts to get quite a bit more complicated. But cam and block, easy as can be. As long as you line up the marks, bolt everything down, you should be A-okay. If you've built if you've built engines, then you're very familiar with this. This is more for the novice or someone who doesn't really have much experience doing this. I hope it clarifies things a little bit. All right. See you in the next vid.